I'm Andrew Henderson, nomadcapitalist.com. This is the Nomad Capitalist Report. We're looking for opportunities all around the world, and when you look out and you see all the places that are up and coming, all the places where people are flocking to, we're going to hear about this in a moment, it just makes you wonder, why would you want to stay in a stagnant economy? We're going to talk about how to cope as an expat now, but in a place very few people would consider at first. Eleanor Brown runs the website expatafrica.net, sharing information with expats going to Africa about how to succeed and how to adjust and how to thrive on the continent. Eleanor, thank you for being my guest.
Hi, Andrew. It's my pleasure to be with you.
So you talk a lot about the idea that Africa, as much as people want to lump it into it, it's not a country, it's a continent. Talk about that phenomenon.
Yes. I mean, Africa is probably best considered as made up of different regions. I mean, North Africa, for example, has a lot more in common, at least, if we think of Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco. Then there's West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, which is a completely different place from East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Then you've got Central Africa, the Congo, Rwanda, Burundi. Then South Africa, the country, is a place all of it can't really include it in with anywhere else in Africa. And then there's Southern Africa, where I live, Zambia, Botswana, Malawi. It's also a good idea to think of it in its linguistic groups. So you've got English-speaking Africa, the former English colonies, and then you've got Francophone Africa, places like the Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, and then over in West Africa, Senegal, the Ivory Coast, for example. And then you've also got the countries in Africa that speak Portuguese. There's like Angola and Mozambique. So good way to think of it, rather than these 57 odd countries, which is too many, is to think of it in terms of regions or linguistic blocks. And within those regions, the countries are more similar.
You're in Botswana, which has been ranked really, a very successful economy and has done a lot of things right. Let's talk, though, outside of the traditional things that people look at, outside of the traditional worldview. What are some of the challenges that you see in Africa, and what are some of the challenges that expats face in moving to Africa?
Well, again, that very much depends on the country. But having said that, I think it's much like you would experience in any other developing or emerging nation. For example, there's not a huge amount of advanced healthcare outside of the big hubs like Lagos and Johannesburg. We struggle with power cuts, slow internet, and big income inequalities. And some parts of the continent suffer with malaria, and poverty is definitely very visible everywhere you go. But there are huge positives to living in Africa. Contrary to what people might believe, the capital cities all have big supermarkets. You can get most of the things that you want. Everyone has a cell phone. As an expat, you will live in a nice house with power, probably a big garden, and there's a lot of, if you have a family, there's a lot of support available for you within the house, so domestic help is very cheap. And the slow pace of life is a very, very positive thing. Coming from London, as I did, it's nice to take a step back, chill out, and realize that you don't have to rush all the time.
Eleanor Brown, expatafrica.net, consults with expats moving to Africa, mostly for employment. Eleanor, let's talk about this. Eleanor Brown from expatafrica.net consults with folks on how to adjust to moving to Africa, a continent of great opportunity, beyond the resources sector even. Eleanor, you had talked about some research where a decent number of expat assignments fail, particularly due to family adjustments. Talk about that.
There was a survey done in 2010 which said that about 1 in 15 or 16 of assignments fail. Those that do fail, it's 2/3 site, spouse or family adjustment reasons for that failure. And that's worldwide, that's not exclusive to Africa. The main tip that I could give anybody is to research before you go. Find out as much as you can as to what to expect. Connect with people on the ground. Anybody, somebody that you know who has a second cousin somewhere and they give you their email address. As many connections as you can make with people on the ground. And also through networks like Families in Global Transition, which is an excellent website for expat families all over the world. Contact some relocation people like me or anyone else in the country that you're going to, and use the internet to find out as much as you possibly can before you go, because you don't want, the worst thing that you can be is surprised and to find that it's not what you expected. The internet can tell you an awful lot of things. And if you're armed with as much information as you can, then you can plan for what am I going to do with my life now I don't have a job.
What do you see as some of the opportunities in specific parts of Africa? I know you work with people who have jobs. Talk to us about what those industries are. There's so much talk in Africa now about the next wave of people coming in. That's the Chinese, and just really extracting all of the resources there. Talk about what's going on in that regard.
To be honest, the people that I work with are from Europe, from states, from the West, and they are going in largely in the aid industry or with the big private sector industry. So in Botswana, for instance, the part of the world diamond market has just moved from London wholesale to the capital of Botswana, Gaborone. So about 100 families have arrived here and will be arriving here over the next couple of years. So I work with the community I've not been able to find a way into. They have a very, very strong network, but they are not eager to work with people from outside of their community. So I don't have much insight into that. The main people that I work with are the partner. It's usually the wife. So they are married to somebody who's coming to work in diamonds, or somebody who's their partner is coming to work as a consultant to the government for something, or they're working for an aid organization, or they're working for a big South African retail firm. Retail is expanding. The consumer sector, and in particular, is expanding hugely throughout Southern Africa, but mostly are from South. The big consumer companies are from South Africa, and they are pushing into the wider African market and sending their personnel with them.
It's fascinating. It always is how so many of these institutions are moving from the West to developing places, whether it's diamonds, whether it's whatever. We've got about a minute left. Eleanor Brown from expatafrica.net. Eleanor, if there's an entrepreneur who likes the slower pace of life, likes those things, but they say, listen, this consumer culture you're talking about, it is growing. All of these aspects are growing as Africa becomes more and more developed in many of these places. Is there a good place, in your opinion, for an entrepreneur for whom the culture in Africa ticks the boxes for them?
Definitely. There is money to be made on this continent, and there is a huge untapped market of middle-class people with some money to spend, and they want to be buying the nice phones. They want to be going on holidays, and they want to be having the consumer lifestyle that we in the West have taken for granted for so long. However, I would say that as an entrepreneur, you would need a really good network of people on the ground to assist you. You'd really need to do your homework before coming here, because a lot of countries do have quite restrictive laws on the on employment for expatriates. And for investors, you really need to understand about the labor laws in order to not get a nasty shock.
Eleanor Brown from expatafrica.net. Hey, thanks, Eleanor, for being my guest. Now, if you are looking to make a move, if you are looking to do something different, what I want you to do is I want you to go to nomadcapitalist.com. You can sign up for a free white paper. We give you 7 free tips to finding global freedom, and you'll get that instantly. And that's how you really begin to build your global economic freedom, personal freedom as well. I'm Andrew Henderson. This is the Nomad Capitalist Report.